Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back.
Oh, I got set.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's what I hear.
Yes, all the time. You know, we do have a caller, actually, we'll get to right here at the very beginning. We have Joe calling in. He has a comment on divorce and real estate. Joe, how you doing?
Hey, Chris. First of all, wanted to, again, say good thoughts to you because you lost your pet last night.
Oh, thanks a lot, Joe. He's a good friend of mine, Joe. And Joe and I worked together for a long time. And Joe, you went through a divorce here a couple years ago.
And I'm listening to the show, and it's very. And I guess somebody's gone through this, but one thing I would kind of relay is when you go through a divorce, and everything is different. Every divorce is different, right? But there's so many emotions that go through it. You don't think straight.
Right.
You don't. And how do you guys handle? And we have another mutual friend going through the same thing. And as a real estate agent or people like mortgage, whatever, I mean, how do you guys handle people making like pretty stupid decisions?
You can't fix stupid, unfortunately.
Hey, don't laugh at me.
Yeah, you can't fix stupid, Joe. I'm just telling you.
I know. That's Ron White.
But
stupid.
But I understand.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it really is.
Because that was kind of what I was hinting at before the break, just as we were parting there, is that there's a business aspect to a marriage that's critical to approach with some sanity, with some semblance of sanity. Because if you don't, it's going to hurt you, not just
You might get Joni to give her perspective on that since
Sure.
he had called in response to her comments about that. And so what do you do when they start making really foolish decisions?
Well, I do agree that they do have to be reminded that it is a business transaction. The other thing is I think it becomes very important to me to earn their trust and to remind them that it's time to just turn it over to me.
Yeah, and we have a goal.
Yeah, to trust in me and let me be the expert and handle this to the end. And encourage them to disconnect from the situation as much as possible till we get an offer and it's ready to, be executed and move it along.
Yeah. So in other words, take, and again, it's you have to be there to really appreciate it. But especially when kids are involved, all you want is everything for the kids, and all of a sudden you turn around, and you're like, oh, I just made about the dumbest decision I've ever made in my life. But that's kind of, so I guess what you guys are saying is in these cases, just take that type of situation away from yourself and just make it, rely on you guys to make the best decisions, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we're paid for. And I think at that point, you let us earn our money and do everything and then call you in when we need you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's been my experience with it. Unfortunately, in many of the divorces, we do have that same situation.
Yeah, well, that makes total sense. It's kind of a little bit late for me to get that advice.
Joe's like, couldn't you have done this 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Hello. But that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I have a mutual friend with Chris and I going through the same thing right now, and I'm trying to help him. And I actually told him to try to listen to the show if he could this morning, but I will relay the information you guys give me.
Joe, well, thanks a lot for calling in, buddy. It's been too long. We'll get together soon, but appreciate you calling in and asking that good question. And I know you went through it a couple years ago, and you came out on the other side right now. So thanks for being a loyal listener to us, bud.
You take care. Bye.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
Well, that's a great segue into our next guest, was this Katie Kutcher with Gregory Law. You might want to make a comment. Say hello, first of all.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be back.
And our two-timer.
She is a two-timing attorney on our show. That is correct.
And so I wanted you to kind of answer that question.
Perfect title for the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
The Two-Timer Show.
Two-timer.
Going through divorce and calling our attorney a two-timer.
It would have to be one of the rare moments where it's a proud title.
That is true.
But in addressing Joe's question is, you see your client making really foolish decisions, and how do you gain control? Because it's so emotional for them, and of course there's some egos involved, and they sometimes get a little vindictive. How do you pull them back in? I never experienced that. I was always the nice guy. So
in our situation, if we notice whether it's our client or the other side, and we think that the decisions and they're not listening to our advice, a lot of times we'll go into the court and file a motion with the judge asking to give complete control over to the real estate agent. They determine the price, they determine the sales, they do everything. That way, it's the judge who made the decision, not us. We take our clients completely out of it, and we just let the real estate agent run with it.
And you have difficulties because sometimes the wife or the husband will have chosen that agent, and they go, well, yeah, well, that was that's my husband's agent. I want somebody that will, going to look after me.
Well, a lot of times in situations where if they can't agree, again, we take it to the judge and we say, here's a list of their three, here's a list of our three. Can you pick?
Okay, Joe, your new strategy is go meet all the family court judges. And
That sounds good. Great idea.
That's a great way to do it.
It's the best way to do it, because in that way we're taking control completely. We're giving it to the courts. We know going into this, when we start talking to the other side, the other counsel, or if they're pro se, we're talking to them. We can tell if there's going to be difficulty involved in it, and we just hit it straight off, let the judge decide.
And of course, pro se means you're not represented.
Right, they're not represented by counsel.
One of the things I'm curious about is that, from our business, I see the ugliest, the worst of the situations where we get people coming in because their credit's been damaged, and you look at their credit, and the spouse is paying every note that they have late that they're joint on, and they're doing it intentionally, and the other person's like, well, I can't get them to pay it on time, and all the craziness that goes along with that, and they're like, well, they got the house in the divorce. I don't understand why it's hurting me. Why is it hurting my credit? They got the house in the divorce, and trying to make them understand the lender doesn't care about that at all. They have both signatures on the dotted line. Why would I want to let one of the fish off the hook that committed to pay? And it's they don't get that idea. Do you have a situation where in that counseling, from a financial perspective, you're going, there's no way that one of these individuals is going to be able to get approved for this house by themselves or whatever? In other words, where the best advice is, look, you guys need to sell this house, but because of emotional reasons, one of them is wanting to hang on.
We do. We see that a lot. The first thing you do when you come into a consultation with us, we have you fill out a financial statement, and we ask you to bring all your tax documents, and we look at the income of both parties.
Wow.
And if we know going into it, somebody's not going to be able to afford this house, and if both your names on it and the credit's not there, they're not going to be able to refinance it, then we advise to push the sale, and sometimes we'll have to take it to litigation to get that sale ordered, because if the spouse is only making $1,200 a month and you're living in a house that costs $3,000 and your child support's not going to cover that, and there's no spousal maintenance if you haven't been married for a certain time, then we know you can't afford it. Don't even, we tell them, look, we have to cut your emotionals out. We have to protect you. And the best way we can protect you is to put this house on the market, or either you need to give it to the other side and let them refinance and buy your equity out.
But the problem I see a lot of times, because what Joe is referring to, I mean, we see it more often than you can possibly imagine. Individuals come in, they do it, and I say, by the way, your home foreclosed on last month. Can you explain this to me? Oh, no, that was my spouse's, and he or she's been paying it for the past, that was 5 years ago. And so a lot of times then when you end up hearing those situations at the end, well, we didn't want to have the kids move. We didn't want to do this. We didn't want to do that. We want to keep them in the same school district for the couple of years, whatever it might be. And the problem is that from a real estate perspective, just from a real estate, is I don't care whether you were divorced 10 years ago or 5 days ago. If you have a liability, independent of who's paying that liability, and that liability is bad on your credit, it counts against you, no matter what the divorce decree says. And so a lot of times we see that individuals are getting these divorces, but they're not handling their real estate side of things correctly, and it ends up there's no protection mechanism, even though they've said that the other individual has to pay it in the divorce decree.
A judge can't force a person to refinance. They can force them to sell. They can't force them to refinance. We always try to incorporate provisions in there. I tell my clients, look, if your name is on there and they're supposed to refinance, you're still able to contact that mortgage company. You need to check. You need to stay on top of whether those payments are being made, because if they're not, and I've incorporated the provisions to where we can force a sale of the house if they get so far behind, then we take it back to court and we force the sale before you get in a situation to where you're facing foreclosure. We also do what's called a deed of trust to secure assumption. And when we do that, you keep checking, and if they're not paying the mortgage, then we have the right to execute that deed and take that house back.
A deed of trust to secure assumption, okay?
Right, because there's two documents we do. If one party gets the house, we do a special warranty deed giving the interest over. But we also retain the right for our client who's not getting the house, whose name is still on the house, to go back and assume that note and take that house back over.
If and when
in the event of a default,
if they're in a position where they're defaulting, and that's the only way legally that we can protect our clients, short of forcing a sale of the house.
Gotcha.
And it'd be infinitely better. I mean, if I was wanting to get across any point today from this topic, it's not a fun topic. From the credit perspective, I would say the cleanest thing is sell the darn house.
Sell the house.
Sell the house. I don't care all the emotions that are attached and all that sort of thing. Just from a clean standpoint, there's very little good that can happen from retaining it when your name is still on it, yet you've dissolved the business.
But what happens, I think, quite often though, it's the wife will retain the house because the kids are there. They're already disrupting the kid's life, and now they don't want to disrupt it more by making them move and change schools and things like that. So I think that happens a lot of the times. It's not true.
It does happen a lot of times. They don't want to move, but we will sit down with them and show them, look, here's the houses in the area. Here's the houses associated with the school. Mm-hmm. They're a lot less expensive than the house you're living in right now. Do you want to keep this house and not have money to do anything with your children, not have money for the extra things they need for school, or do you want to get out of this house and start looking for a new place that you can afford on your own? I tell everybody all the time, do not count on a child support payment.
Yeah.
Because I can order them, the judge can order them, but if they don't pay it, then we've got to go back to court and get that money. So if you're counting on that money to pay your mortgage, then I need to get you out of that house because it's not going to benefit your
Is that a
kids.
systemic issue going on right now? Is deadbeat dads not paying child support and things?
It's not just deadbeat dads. We have deadbeat moms, too.
Okay.
It's
I
both
like
sides.
a egalitarian approach to things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
Equal bus runnage overage.
You know, and it is. We see it all the time in our business. We get calls, we're not paying child support, what do I do? And we have to go back to court.
One of the things, I've worked with Kitty for a number of years, and we've referred clients back and forth for a long time, and she has a firm understanding of the credit aspect of the divorce process, and that really is a critical component. People don't think about that, but it is truly a critical component because it will impact your life for 7 years to come if you don't position yourself right beforehand. I know we have to take a break.
Yep.
Kitty's not going anywhere, though, so.
She is not going anywhere. She's right here. How can we reach you just in case, though?
You can call me at the Gregory Law Firm, 713-861-1293.
Just in case you're going through a divorce, that is.
In case you don't want to come back, right? Like, I've had enough.
We are taking a break. We have a lot more to come. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.